final day of the ACB hearings. ACB, it's easy as, yeah, you know how the rest of it goes. So I think she's going to get through. That's pretty obvious. She's going to get through. They threw some last-minute roadblocks up, some Senate roadblocks. And I got to tell you this, because, look, I thought that they were going to get so much crazier, and there must be something coming. Look what they did to Kavanaugh. And it wasn't just the women claiming sexual assault against Kavanaugh. There was a whole circus of lunatics at Capitol Hill. There was a guy I know it's a family show, so I'll try to describe this gently. A guy showing up who was anti-Kavanaugh, who was dressed as a 6-foot-tall prophylactic device, right? I remember that. That was a thing. The women in the Handmaid's Tales costumes. I'm sure there was some of that, but there just wasn't that same atmosphere of frenzied insanity around Kavanaugh. And this is a far more consequential replacement, really. Because, I mean, RBG is as left-wing. She's as left-wing a justice and as much of a legislator from the bench as you're going to find anywhere. That's RBG's. That was her legacy. Whereas now you're going to have this constitutionalist, this originalist. Also amazing, just as an aside, how many people do not understand what originalism means? And the retweets that people will get for things like, originalism means you can only own a musket and, you could only write with a quill pen and I'm talking about people who consider themselves public intellectuals, public persons with platforms and followers, and tons of Dan Rather. Oh, you know what? I gotta find. I can't just speak about it in the abstract. Dan Rather is really important. He's really important in his own mind. But no, he is actually important because what he shows you is that in the old way, when the left could control. When they could control the platforms and they could control the news industry entirely, basically, they could elevate somebody as completely intellectually worthless as Dan Rather to the very height of the news business. Dan Rather, when I was an intern at CBS Evening News with Dan Rather when I was 18 years old. True story. First kind of news, office job I ever really had. And I was there for 6 months, long time, but I was only there 2 or 3 days a week. And I just remember even at that age thinking, this guy is really unimpressive and not very smart. And he was getting paid $7 million a year to read off of a teleprompter then. So not only was he a dumbass and a wildly overpaid one, it was apparent to me at 18 years old. Here we go. This is from Wednesday. Dan Rather tweeting, if you want to be an originalist in law, you should go all the way. Cooking on a hearth, leeches for medicine, an old mule for transportation, or maybe you can recognize that the world changes. This is the most sophomoric, no, forget that, truly moronic thing that any person has written about the Amy Coney Barrett hearings yet. 207,000 likes this tweet got. Almost 50,000 retweets. So this was seen by and liked by hundreds of thousands, millions of people who are idiots. All Biden voters, by the way. This is all libs that are liking this stuff. They are truly a group of ignoramuses clamoring for some kind of consensus high five moment. It's so dumb that it's hard to really it's so dumb that it's really hard to put it into words. This is like everybody clapping for a design for a submarine with screen doors or something. How could anyone be so stupid? That's not what originalism means. So, you'd think they could figure this out, but they can't. So I just wanted to point that out. But okay, why are they not freaking out more about Amy Coney Barrett, who is pretty much about to become the next Supreme Court justice? Well, the reason that they're not freaking out about this even more is that I think they've completely resigned themselves to packing the court. Doesn't really matter then. Okay, yeah, she'll be on the, maybe it'll be a right-leaning court for a while, which it's not like that she comes on and can strike down previous decisions right away. It's not like she can say, okay, Roe is gone and this is gone and that is gone and, Obergefell is gone, and you just start throwing cases out. It's not how it works. First of all, she's only one vote, and second of all, she has to wait, as she's had to explain in her free legal clinic for the idiot Democrats on the Judiciary Committee. She has to wait for a controversy, a legal contest to come before her, and then is able to write one of 9 opinions on it. But they figure, oh, well, we'll just wait that out, and then the moment that we have control of the Congress, we will just pass a bill, and we'll do it. We'll ram it through, and we have a Democrat president. He'll sign it, or she'll sign it, and we'll pack the court, so it won't even matter. And we'll just do it. We'll put as many as we need. We'll put 4 lib justices on there. Just start an arms race in the Supreme Court. They'll do it. I am convinced they will do it. Look at the maniacal approach to getting Obamacare through without a single Republican vote. They didn't care. They were all in on it, right? They were able to hold the line on that one and stay with it all the way. So that's what I believe is calming them down in a sense now, because they don't have any mechanism for stopping this. They haven't been able to come up with one yet. And I sit here and just feel like there's no way that these deranged libs aren't going to try to exact vengeance over this situation, but they already know what it is. And that's also why Biden and Kamala won't speak about this. That's also why they refuse to answer the question and have allowed it to become a political liability for them. Because once it gets out there, people are going to realize, oh, no, the court packing is absolutely the plan. That's what they're trying to do. But let's get to some of the dumbest things here that were said yesterday, today, from the Barrett hearings. Here we have Kamala Harris, who is trying to trip up Amy Coney Barrett. And I don't mean this in a mean way, but Amy Coney Barrett's a legal superstar. Kamala Harris went to a law school at a UC, University of California school, that I had never heard of before. And I've heard of a lot of them. And law school is very much based on your LSAT score, and that's pretty much it. So there's some other considerations too, but we'll talk about that some other time. So here is how it went when Kamala went after her on climate change. Play 7, please.
And do you accept that COVID-19 is infectious?
I think, yes, I do accept that COVID-19 is infectious. That's something of which I feel like, we could say you take judicial notice of. It's an obvious fact, yes.
Do you accept that smoking causes cancer?
I'm not sure exactly where you're going with this, but, the notice that smoking causes...
The question is what it is. You can answer it if you believe yes or no.
Senator Harris, yes, every package of cigarettes warns that smoking causes cancer.
And do you believe that climate change is happening and is threatening the air we breathe and the water we drink?
Senator, again, I was wondering where you were going with that. You have asked me a series of questions that are completely uncontroversial, like whether COVID-19 is infectious, whether smoking causes cancer, and then trying to analogize that to eliciting an opinion on me that is a very contentious matter, opinion from me that is on a very contentious matter of public debate. And I will not do that. I will not express a view on a matter of public policy, especially one that is politically controversial, because that's inconsistent with the judicial role, as I have explained.
Thank you, Judge Barrett. And you've made your point clear that you believe it's a debatable point.
That's not her point. Notice the little cheap shot at the end from Kamala, who, look, she's not a very smart lawyer, folks. I mean, she's very mediocre. We understand. We saw what happened in California and, Willie Brown and the whole situation. We all understand that this is not somebody who's, lighting the legal world on fire before she became a senator, right? I mean, very kind of, middle rung prosecutor kind of stuff in San Francisco. And then somehow elevated to state attorney general in the Senate. But no, that's not what she's saying. What she's saying is, I can't weigh in on things that are going to be before the court. She had to say this a million times. It gets really tiresome after a while. But Democrats then try to use this to score points. Like, oh, what do you mean you won't answer that? You must have an opinion on this. No, I'm just not sharing an opinion. No, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. They don't care. They were just going for it. That you think it's a debatable proposition. Anyone who doesn't think that there are debatable propositions within the statement, I believe in climate change, is an idiot. Because I believe in climate change then results in a whole series, an endless series, actually, of debates and conversations about, okay, how much climate change? How fast? What can we do about it? What cost are we willing to pay? How certain are we of different plans that we would take, even if we thought it was catastrophic? How certain are we the mitigation efforts for different plans would actually work? I mean, to think this would be like, it's like saying, I believe in God. Okay, that's a first step. Now, what is doctrine? What does that mean? What happens when you die? What should you do while you're alive? What is leading a meaningful life mean? What's your relationship with God like? I mean, I understand God, there's yes or no is an important thing, but it's not like that settles it. There's a whole lot of stuff that comes after that. So of course there are going to be controversies. People have been killing each other for a long time about what kind of God they believe in or who is God. And, oh, you believe in climate change. Well, I'm using the God analogy because it's a religious belief. So to just say you believe, yeah, okay, I believe. I mean, if you believe in God, but you don't really think that he influences life and doesn't care what we do and everything else, how much does that really matter? Yeah, you take a deist point of view. Yeah, there's some God who created things and like now we're all just left and nothing matters. Deism turns into nihilism pretty quickly if you take that approach. But instead, what you have here from Kamala is just a little cheap shot at the end there against somebody who's been running circles around her for the entirety of these hearings. And Judge Barrett just kept saying the same thing. I'm not going to be drawn. Stop trying to get me into a policy debate. Play 10.
Do you think it's wrong to separate children from their parents to deter immigrants from coming to the United States?
Well, Senator Booker, that's been a matter of policy debate, and, obviously that's a matter of hot political debate in which I can't express a view or be drawn into as a judge.
So I respect that a lot, but I think the underlying question is actually not hotly debated, and just maybe I'll ask it one more time. Do you think it's wrong to separate a child from their parent, not for the safety of the child or parent, but to send a message? As a human being, do you believe that that's wrong?
Well, Senator, I think you're trying to engage me on the administration's border separation policies, and I can't express a view on that. So I'm not expressing assent or dissent with the morality of that position. I just can't be drawn into a debate about the administration.
But they keep asking the same question. They keep going over the same ground because they're trying to make a point about what they believe and unfairly impugning the impartiality, the legal analysis of Amy Coney Barrett. And there's the one person that you can count on. I'm a little annoyed. Tucker said on his show earlier this week that Mazie Hirono was the dumbest person to have ever been a member of Congress. And I'm a little bit like I feel like I've been one-upped because I've been saying for years that Mazie Hirono is the dumbest United States senator. And I've gotten people, oh, you can't say that. And no, I can, actually. She is. But Tucker took it way further and said the dumbest person to have ever been elected to Congress. I don't know. T-Money and I may have to have a conversation about whether that's really, I know he's kidding and I'm kidding too, but the dumbest ever is a big claim. Like the dumbest right now, I think is that's clear. You have Mazie Hirono though, crazy Mazie. Here she is making sure that everyone who's listening to what's going on here understands that the Democrats really do view the Supreme Court as a body meant to give Democrats what they want through legal decisions that usurp the legislative branch's authority and write laws instead of interpreting them. Here's Mazie just saying the quiet part out loud. Play 23.
Don't most Democrats think if she gets on that court, the ACA is done?
The president thinks it.
That's right. The president thinks it, right?
The Republicans know it, too, and they just don't want to admit it, and they're hiding it from the people, their own people, that they're about to rush this person onto the court so she can be there November 10th to hear the ACA case, which, by the way, was brought by 12 Republican attorneys general, and the president is right in there. And so Yes, they want somebody who will turn back the ACA, destroy it. They've been wanting to do that for at least 10 years. They voted 70 times in Congress to get rid of the ACA. So to say, oh, no, we're not doing that is, please, what? I just want to say, shut up.
Yeah, she's really dumb.
Shut up.
And she does not know how the law works, how the Supreme Court works. Hawaii, I really do. It's like, as a state, I have a crush on Hawaii. It's such a beautiful place. But they gave us Mazie Hirono, so nobody's perfect, Hawaii. It's okay, we're still friends.
Under my leadership, we will have a safe and effective vaccine before the end of the year. We will swiftly defeat the China virus, end the pandemic, bring back our critical supply chains, and lift our economy to unprecedented new heights. If the left gains power, they will shut down the economy, close our schools, delay the vaccine, prolong the pandemic, and impose the most extreme policies in the history of our country.
I think it's all true. And that's what we're making a decision about as a country in a couple of weeks. It's just flying by. I can't believe it. It's going to be election night before you know it. And it's going to feel could feel like a very different America depending on how that whole thing goes. As you know, my prediction for this is that it will not be decided definitively on election night because the Democrats will claim that there are outstanding ballots, mail-in ballots. And I think they don't care what the margins are. It doesn't matter. They'll just say, well, we can't know. We can't know how many people actually mailed them. So and then they'll try games and shenanigans there. Maybe that's why there hasn't been quite as much thrown at Amy Coney Barrett, because they're so busy trying to figure out how to steal the election and how to game the system. I thought that's a possibility. There's only so much mischief and evil the Democrat Party maybe can handle at any one time that they're capable of. So that may be dragging down some of the efforts to destroy ACB, which have just been, laughable thus far. And the Senate procedural blocks today were ridiculous, just wasting everyone's time, but it doesn't actually stop anything or do anything. And then there's this from Trump, too, that play 22.
The choice facing America is simple. It's the choice between historic prosperity under my pro-American policies or very crippling poverty and a steep depression under the radical left. And that's what you'll have, is a depression. I will deliver optimism, opportunity, and growth. They will deliver pessimism, stagnation, decline, and very high taxes. Simply put, it's a choice between a socialist nightmare and the American dream.
Indeed it is. Well put by the president. We are in the last leg here, friends. Do your part and pray a little bit.
It's time for roll call.
Facebook.com/Buck Sexton. Yes, I know Facebook is a left-wing DNC hack. I don't know. I couldn't think of really what to call it, but they're on the team left wing. But it's still useful for us, so we'll use what we can from their side for our side. We might as well, at least in the meantime, while we're trying to build out the next big platform for ourselves here. I'm trying. I'm working with it. I'm in contact with Dan Bongino. He's pushing these things. I'm doing my part, not only bringing more young up-and-coming conservatives into this business whenever I can and helping them however I can, but also trying to help build platforms where they'll have a future in this. I wish that there were some other folks that were more interested in that, but, who already have made a tremendous name for themselves and a ton of money in conservative media. Some of them are. Look, Dan is doing great, and I really appreciate his efforts in this regard, but there are some others who you just think, come on, guys, it's about the future, right? It's about the future of this country. We need these platforms. So let's get to the roll call here. Oh, and remember, you can send us messages on Instagram. Producer Mark, I got a very an angry message on Instagram from someone in Denmark who wanted me to know that Denmark that Denmark sixth graders somehow have like seen or heard my show or maybe my social media and we're making jokes about it. And all I could think is, this is awesome. People in Denmark see this. Great. Sign me up.
So a teacher writes in to troll you and you're happy that just because people in Denmark see you.
Yeah, totally.
All right.
I mean, there's a bunch of Danish
way to
kids
look at
like splurga bluga 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 book Sexton splurga bluga bluga. That's awesome. I don't care what they're saying. The fact that they're even seeing this stuff is fantastic. In Denmark, for God's sakes, come on.
I see you're being a glass half full kind of guy.
Yeah,
today.
you know what I mean? You know, hey, as long as the little Danes are walking around, there's probably a smart Dane who thinks for himself. You know, little Sven Olaf. And little Sven Olaf is now wearing his little, like, I was going to say lederhosen. That's a different country. Whatever his clogs, I guess that's Switzerland. Whatever they wear in Denmark, Danish stuff. A Viking outfit, I don't know. But he's going, splurga-durga-durga, and he's, you know, heading down to his little Danish school, and he's like, I like the book Sexton. He makes the smart points. Just like that. You know? But his friends
I'm
would make
sure
fun
that's
of him.
happening.
His friends would make fun of him. Little Sven Olaf. I'm telling you, he listens to the show. It's exciting. All right. And then there's the other ones that are not feeling my vibe so much over there, but that's cool. It is what it is. Brandy writes, hey, Buck, what do you think of all these polls saying Trump is behind Biden? I don't get it. Trump's got all the crowds and enthusiasm. Are the polls wrong? Is Trump going to win? Shields high. Oh, Brandy, I think Trump is going to win, but I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. I used to. We did a show together at Hill TV. No, bad joke, Buck. But you know, I don't know about these polls. I just think they can't be right. But look, we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out. And there's, if you break it down by state, if you break it down by you know, things like that, then I think you recognize pretty quickly that we're doing better than we think. We're doing better than we think. Based on the polling. I know a lot of people write in about the polls, so keep that in mind. And I don't have a good answer for that. Rick writes, hey, Buck and producer Mark, I was listening to your podcast last night on iHeartRadio in Castle Rock, Colorado. When you got to roll call, you're answering a question of who should run after Trump should he win. Likely persons you suggested were Pence, Nikki Haley, and South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem. What do you think about Don Jr.? That would drive the left absolutely crazy. Rick, I like Don Jr. He's obviously an asset to his dad out on the campaign trail, and he shares a lot of his fiery approach to stuff. So that could definitely work. Now, as you know, I am a critic in general of nepotism and our obsession with dynastic politics in this country. But I'm willing to make an exception for somebody. Look, I'll tell you this. If one of the Trump kids is going to run, I think Don Jr. is a very good choice. So I'll say that. And I think he would do a good job. Well, look, Dad's got to win first. He's got to win this one. He's got to win this round. So we'll see. Joel, ciao, Bucko, and producer Marco. I just want to say thank you for that nice little bit you did on Italians yesterday, especially for including the Sicilian lynching in there. A lot of people who have never heard about that. You touched on the discrimination faced by Italians, which is all too true, but Sicilians and Southern Italians really got the worst because they were even looked down upon from the Northern Italians, and that continued well into at least the mid-20th century. But it all worked out in the end with some hard work and perseverance. Over a couple of generations, we were able to weave ourselves into the fabric of America in just about every capacity. Your acknowledgement of that was much appreciated. Well, Joel, buongiorno. And yeah, man, I'm glad that you appreciated that we wove in some of the history there. And also, as for the Sicilians, discrimination within countries, even among people of the same nationality and general ethnicity, actually exists. People forget this. I know this from friends of mine from the Indian subcontinent who will tell you that and because the caste system made this very explicit, but lighter skinned Indians and people who were they tended to look, and this is of course looking at racism, it's not everybody, but they tended to look down upon people from the further south, who often were thought of as having darker. Now these are all people of Indian ethnicity, but having darker skin. There's there is intra-racial racism in a sense, if that makes sense. Also true about some East Asians and the way that they look down upon people from what we would think of as Southeast Asia, again, who are also Asian, but darker Asian, if that. And so within Sicily, yes, Northern Italians generally, and this is not always true, but Northern Italians tend to have, lighter hair, be lighter skin. I mean, Sicilians, because they're from basically right in the middle of the Mediterranean, can be a little bit darker. That's the way that it's been thought about. Not always true. There's the Norman Conquest of Sicily, which I like to talk about because it's such an interesting historical period. On their way to the Crusades, Messina in Sicily was really the way station to get people to the Crusades. So that's, if you want to think of one of the great ports for the Crusades, it was in fact Sicily. I'm sorry, what was Messina on Sicily. And then there was the Norman. So the Vikings actually conquered Sicily. And, all right, I'm getting a little too deep in that one. But you get the idea. But yeah, you got blonde-haired, blue-eyed Sicilians too is the point. Tom, I have a quick question. Why doesn't Trump start suing everybody who slanders him? Call him a white supremacist? Go to court. Call him a sexual assaulter? Go to court. I know the standard for liable for public figures is high, but I do believe he could prove intentional malice in a lot of these cases. Even if he couldn't, make these people pay for lawyers to defend themselves. It'd be I bet a lot of the slander would stop. I know it would be expensive, but he can afford it. I'm not familiar with the election finance law, but he might even be able to get his campaign to pay for it. Just a thought. Shields high. Well, Tom, you've clearly thought this through a little bit because you've noted some of the impediments, and they're big ones. They're big impediments for someone like Trump to sue over slander or libel. Because he is not just a public figure, in many ways, as the president, the most public figure that there is. The bar is almost insurmountable. You'd have to say that you're proving intentional malice. Think of a circumstance where you could even do that, and things like a white supremacist for a public figure. They would say that comes down to a matter of opinion, that to call someone a white supremacist, and they would point to comments that he's made. They say, see, that makes him a white supremacist. And now you're going to go to a jury and hope that a jury would rule in your favor. And you point out also that it's very expensive, and it is. And suing people is a very, the moment you bring the lawyers into anything, you better get ready for that second mortgage on your house. So lawyers are very expensive. Suing is very expensive. And remember that if Trump is going to sue someone, think of all the different entities, legal foundations, organizations that would run to that person and essentially pay their legal bills in that lawsuit against Trump just for either spite of Trump or for the headlines it would get them. Think of all the lawyers who would take that on pro bono, fighting the Trump administration about whether Trump is a white supremacist. So it turns into, when you're getting dragged on Twitter and you want to just start arguing, you're getting dragged unfairly. It's happened to me before. And you want to start telling everybody why they're wrong and why they're dumb. And it's really like fighting a swarm of bees. How do you fight a swarm of bees? The answer is you don't. You get away from the bees. You can't. If you're going to sit there and try to squash each one, you're just going to waste a lot of energy and get stung a lot. That's really what it's like trying to deal with a Twitter swarm, by the way, when they're all over you and they're saying, oh, you said this and you're so dumb and I hate you and you lied. And, and you go, no, I did not lie, sir. I am a person of high ethics and intelligence. And how many thousands of times do you want to write that out to people? Go, oh, and your face is stupid. I hate your ugly hair. That's what happens when you try to deal with a Twitter troll assault from all corners. So it's better to just go, okay, mute the thread or whatever and move on to the next one. And that's the truth about Trump with all these names and everything else. It's just not going to work, Tom. But I appreciate you thought it through, and thank you for bringing the question to my attention. Mark writes, hey, Buck, if there was a contingent election of the House, who would win? I know the Dems have a majority, but do we have a state majority? Love the show. Producer Mark is legit because we share a name. There you go, Producer Mark. I'll
have to thank my parents for naming me Mark.
Another satisfied Producer Mark customer. Just saying. As for contingent election, I haven't actually done the math on it. So the way a contingent election works is that it no longer is the Electoral College aggregate votes where, California has dozens of votes and smaller states have a few votes. It turns into just the state. And then it's 26 of the 50 to win. I believe that's how a contingent election works. We haven't had one since the 1820s or 30s. It's been a long time. I don't think it'll get to that point, but, these days with politics where they are, with things going the way they do, friends, never say never. Next up in roll call, TJ. Right. Buck, I see that Trump is now in talks with NBC to have his own town hall event, which will be directly against Biden's town hall event for the same time slot, 8 to 9:30 Eastern again. From the sounds of it, neither moderator will be Trump-friendly, with Stephanopoulos on ABC and Savannah Guthrie on NBC. Personally, I don't like this move by Trump because it hardly seems productive, and now it will be nothing but each candidate's base turning into the respective network to boost ratings to determine who won the night. If Trump really wants to blow things up, he should just show the world that network TV is dead. Take Newt Gingrich's advice, accept Joe Rogan's invitation for a 3 to 4 hour live interview. If Trump is looking for ratings, this would be gold and something that people would want to watch. TJ, I totally agree with you. I think that this town hall thing is going to be pretty much a waste. I think that giving NBC and ABC these kind of elite platform creds in a sense, or making it seem like they're still the important conversation directors in this country, I don't like that at all. I think NBC News and ABC News are a joke. They've got big legacy media platforms and corporate parents that write the big checks for them. I think they're still revenue neutral, so it's like they're forced to just pay for themselves and that's it. So they're not even big money makers. I don't know if that's still the case, so don't quote me on that, but I think that's true. And as for doing a Joe Rogan debate, I think that's an excellent idea. I think that makes a lot of sense. Or not even Joe Rogan debate, Joe Rogan interview. The guy's curious. He likes to ask good questions. He's respectful of guests. It's fantastic. The only show that I want to do as a guest that I really want to do as a guest that I've never done is Joe Rogan's show. That's the only one I can really think of. I mean, there are others I'm sure that would come to mind, but that would be very, very high on the list. Because there are very few people whose content in the podcast or radio world I will listen to, and I don't listen regularly because I don't have the time, but I've listened to some of his shows. I thought they've been very good. And even about things that I don't really care. I listened to a show he did a long time ago on MMA, and it was really interesting. And I don't dislike MMA. I don't really watch a lot of it. I don't know much about it. And that's sports, so that's why I've got producer Mark. Right, producer Mark? But you don't really watch MMA, do you?
I'll watch like the big fights here and there.
Yeah. It's a much better product than it used to be when they had guys who would just sort of wrestle around on the ground all the time in the early days. I remember I watched, it wasn't even called MMA. It was like, there was some like Japanese name for it. I forget what it was, but you could get it on pay-per-view for like $50 or $75. This is back in the 90s. And I definitely watched back then because I watched so many martial arts movies from age 10 to 18. I mean, I went through a period there where if there was a ninja movie, I was all about it. American Ninja, ridiculous movie. I mean, there's a ninja training facility with all these guys wearing crazy colored ninja suits. And have you ever seen it, producer Mark? It's ridiculous, but awesome.
No, but I'm thinking you should go try out to be on American Ninja Warrior. I'd actually pay money to do that, to watch you do that.
Comedy for people to watch. It'd be like taking me out of my radio chair and like, yeah, go run up that wall. I'd be like, ooh, that looks like a lot of pressure on the hammies. I don't know about that one. Oh, gosh. Oh, gee. Producer Mark, I got to stretch before I do that one. Yeah, not going to work for me. Let's see here. Jack, Buck, maybe if there's no stimulus, these people who are in need will begin pushing back against the real problem governors like Cuomo, Murphy, and Newsom who are prolonging these lockdowns. American taxpayers must not bail out fiscally irresponsible states and cities. If these places go bankrupt, maybe finally their citizens will wake up and cast these bums out. Marie Antoinette, let them eat cake, would be right at home today. Keep up the great work you're doing. Thank you so much, Jack. I always thought Jack is just like a super solid, cool name. Jack, great to hear from you, and thank you for your thoughts. Team, that's going to be the show for today. Please pass the buck this week. Be an early birthday and Christmas present for me. Get one person you know who has not listened to the Buck Sexton Show to try it on any of the podcast platforms out there. We're all over the place. Pass the buck to one person or 10. Until next time, shields high.